Huh? What do you think of that? Pretty cool, right? It's a hidden door. It's been a while since I put a video on this channel, and that's because I kind of walked away from this project for a few months to do other things. It was never my intention to bull through this and get it all done real quick. I thought it would be something I would do over time. And that's exactly how it turned out. It's July now, and I started this in January. So, 7 months ago, almost. Anyway, so what have I done since the last video? Well, in the last video, I had the insulation up in the ceiling. That's going to add to the base absorption that I'm looking to get out of this room. And I didn't have any of these slats up at that point. Since then, of course, I cut all these from 1/2-inch plywood. There's quite a lot. And got them all screwed up to the ceiling. And how they're fastened, they're just held up with screws. Very much like the rest of this stuff is held on with screws. It's all removable. If I want to, take it all down at some point in the future and try something else, I can do that because, like I said, it's all just screws. And I used about 1,000 so far in this room, and I'm not done yet. Anyway, so I screwed up. That doesn't sound right. That sounds like I made a mistake. I screwed on the panels on the ceiling, not the panels, the strips, starting over here, and then in the center, and then ended up on the last row over here. I filmed a little bit of that, and that's what you're watching now. And the idea with the ceiling is very similar to the front wall here with these holy diffusers here. It's to allow the bass frequencies to go through, basically unobstructed. They go in through these slots up here, but also provide enough reflective surface so it doesn't kill the high end. I actually started doing the ceiling strips a couple months ago, but just finished it the other day because I wanted to get working on this wall. And this wall is very much like the wall opposite that I started with. It has these panels here that are, well, it's my hope, and it seems to bear out in the measurements, that they absorb some of the bass frequencies that are problematic in a room this small. Okay, so I started with this, well, actually I started by stuffing the wall with fiberglass, just a single layer of 3.5-inch stuff, mainly just to fill the space so that any cavity behind will, that'll add to the absorption right there. Because bass, a lot of the bass doesn't reflect. It'll go right through a thin wall like this. So if it goes through the wall, it hits the insulation, that slows it down even more. So everything helps, right? Now, I started with this big panel right here, very much like I did over on the other wall. And then I ran a test to see what the difference was in the room measurement, with this and without it. And that's what you're looking at on the screen right now. In the video I made on the bass traps on the front wall here, I showed some measurements there as well. I had people asking for the frequency response. However, those frequency response measurements don't really show anything that's, significant. Like there are differences there, but they don't show what I'm trying to do in the room. What I'm trying to do in this room is reduce the reverb time in the lower frequencies. Not kill it completely, because that's virtually impossible in this size room with the stuff that I'm doing, doing it fairly inexpensively. Costs a lot of money to completely eliminate those frequencies, but to get them down low enough so that they're no longer as big an issue as they were to begin with. So The best thing that shows that is, in my opinion, and I learned this in other places, the spectrogram, which is actually looking down from above at the waterfall, and you can see the reverb time. The wider that rainbow ribbon is, the longer the reverb time, and the worse the room is. What you want to do is you want to get that very narrow, and ideally straight across, or as straight across as you possibly can. So you can see a definite difference between the room before I did the panel and after. And that's exactly what I was looking for. That is exactly what I was expecting. So I carried on, I put on all the rest, and then I tested it again. And that's what you're looking at here. And that's actually the last measurement that I made in the room. And one thing you'll see here is that the reverb time for the higher frequencies have jumped way up. And that was not unexpected as well, because what I did was I restored these, flat, hard surfaces for the higher frequencies to bounce off of. What I'm going to do at a future time, after I actually finish this back wall here, is I'm going to build individual panels that will either be freestanding or hanging, that will cover this, first reflection area from the speakers. And then that will, along with some other, randomly placed treatment, help to tame those higher frequency reverb times so it's no longer an issue. If we look at this measurement, this last measurement of the room, and we compare it to the very first, what you're looking at here is a room with open studs, with very little treatment at all, just that first wall, which is actually just a flat surface. So you had a lot of places for the sound to bounce around and break up, the reverb to a certain degree, especially in the higher end. What you didn't have is anything that was treating the bass frequencies, and that was my primary goal with the treatment that I did in the room. Now, on the back wall over here, I've got another door to make, and it's going to be a sliding one this time, not a cool hidden one like this. However, it will appear kind of hidden on this side of the room, because what I want to do here is build more of these quadratic diffusers and basically cover the entire wall with them. And then last set, they'll be in twos, like a pair of these, stacked. The last one will hinge open into the room, and then the door will be a sliding door, will slide sideways, and you can exit. Now, most of the time, these doors will be left open, like when no one's in here. But when you're sitting in here, listening to music, watching a movie, whatever, those doors will be closed and all the panels will be in place. I want to talk a little bit about the design of the room, the way it looks with all this plywood kind of, semi-industrial type look. This is exactly what I was going for. People build home theaters in their houses, and they try to make them. Okay, first thing I should say is that this is not a home theater. This was never the intention for this. I go back a few years, and this is what I was thinking about, a home theater, but I've since changed my mind, and I've decided on 2-channel listening, no subwoofers, just 2 speakers here. Not these ones. These are just test speakers, so I can do the measurements. But I'll be building new speakers in the future, and you'll see that on this channel, where I'll go through all the design factors and all that stuff. Should be interesting to people that are into that, okay? So talking about the design of the room with the plywood, I was watching something one time, probably a movie or something, and I saw a room that was done in a similar way. And whenever I was thinking about this room, I kind of had that vision of it being like this, with these, kind of, I can't say rustic, but like I said, industrial looking, or I don't know how to describe it. Maybe one of you can think of a way to describe the room other than shitty. Don't say it's shitty, because I'll be offended. I like the look. All right. Now, one thing I was thinking about was painting these diffuser panels black, or maybe possibly some other color. Maybe going out on a limb and painting them some dark red or something like that, just to break up the amount of plywood. But the more I look at the room, the more I like it. Now, right now, there's a lot more light in here than there normally would be. These things don't give off a lot of light. I have 3 light stands set up right beside the camera here to brighten everything up, so it's a lot dimmer. Also, there'll be a dimmer controlling these light fixtures, so I'll be able to bring them down real low if I want to, or shut them off altogether. Like if you're watching a movie or something like that, that'd be good. I'm in here! You're crazy. All right, let's see if we can nail it this time.